Hi, everybody. Welcome back for a new episode of the Midnight Sessions. Today it's going to be packed with really nice information that just came out yesterday. We're going to talk about the new Midnight Whitepaper related to tokenomics and incentives. Then we're going to go through the new hackathon that started yesterday. And then I'm going to show you guys a new template with UI integrated. So let's get started. And we're going to have a lot to talk to. For those new that are joining the session, the way we structure it, it's we go through some topics, and at the end we open the mics or for questions and answers, or you can just type on the chat any question you want. And if you want to jump into the stage, just raise your hands. Okay, let's get started. We want to talk first about the Midnight paper. They released it just yesterday. Regarding the Midnight Whitepaper, I was recommended everybody just to take a look at the official channels. Right now, there's a lot of scammers walking around, so be careful, guys. The official page is this one here, that it's midnight.gd, right? And that's where we're gonna go through all the information and discuss some topics. The more in-depth details regarding the white paper, it's under this PDF that it's 45 pages long. It's a really nice white paper the guys from Midnight did. I mean, I was reading through it yesterday, and I was really impressed by the amount of work Midnight team did. Actually, I was talking with Midnight guys since last year, and they already started doing this white paper. So they put a lot of work in it, and the result is clear. So let's take a look. So we're going to go through the site, and we can see here that the Midnight token, they talk about the Midnight token distribution. It's going to be a multi-phase distribution, right? Where people will have to do claims and redemptions. We're gonna look at this process in a bit. Let's first discuss how the token allocations is going to take place. So it's going to be divided in 3 phases. The phase 1, it's called the glacier drop, that everybody heard about it, right? Hear about it. The second phase is the scavenger mine, and the third phase is lost and found. Let's take a look at what of each these phases mean. The first phase, glacier drop, it's and this is something that people are going to be really happy. Up to 100% of the total supply claimable by eligible glacier drop participants. And that's true. 100% of total supply. That's huge. That's a huge airdrop. I mean, it's not even an airdrop. It's total coin supply through a airdrop, right? And the meaning of the glacier drop is because of these mechanisms of claims and redemptions. So, okay, how this is going to be distributed? They have chosen 8 blockchains. 50% of the total supply, it's going to go to ADA holders. 20%, it's going to go to BTC holders. And the rest, 30%, is going to be divided depending on the market cap of each blockchain, which is Ethereum, Solana, XRP, BNB, AVAX, and BAT. So yeah, huge. Then the second phase, it's the scavenger mine. This is gonna be a whatever the coins, those coins that were not claimed during this phase is gonna pass to the second phase, and part of that tokens are gonna be claimed by doing some work. So it's going to be kind of like how Bitcoin works. People are going to have to offer computational resources and try to calculate some puzzles. And those that offer the more work regarding computational power, they're going to get more tokens from. So let's see. During this phase, 100% of the unclaimed tokens from the glacier drop phase will be processed and apportioned between participants, core network constituents, which are Midnight Foundation, Midnight TGE, which is responsible of these token generation events, but also is going to be in charge of commercial partnerships, the reserve, and on-chain treasury. If we relate these concepts to Cardano, we can, Midnight Foundation would be kind of what Cardano Foundation is doing. The Midnight TGE, it's responsible of the token generation. That's something that Cardano had at the beginning. And then Emurgo was kind of assuming this commercial responsibility. Now the Midnight TGE is kind of in charge of that. The reserve, we have a reserve as well in Cardano, and they're going to have a treasury as well. So yeah, pretty much you can correlate a lot of terms in Cardano in Midnight. And the third claim phase comes after this scavenger mine, which is called the lost and found. The amount of tokens remaining on the lost and found pool will be claimable by those Glacier drop eligible individuals who missed the first claim. So each of these phases, people are going to have some specific time to actually claim those tokens. If they miss that time, they're going to have a second chance during this lost and found. So we have to be really careful regarding those timings so we don't lose those tokens from the airdrop. Okay, another stuff that were mentioned in the white paper were the concept of these dual token mechanisms. We know that Midnight, they have this Midnight token and Dust tokens. And now they have explained how all this is going to work out. So let's see. Midnight introduces a composite system where Night, the native token, continually generates dust. So the way I like to correlate this, it's by thinking those that are familiar with renewable energy. I think of a solar plant, which is off grid, right? So you have, for example, your solar panels that are generating energy, and that energy, it's being stored on a battery pack. And that battery pack, it's what actually distribute that energy, whoever is consuming that energy. So in the case of Midnight, that solar panels would be your nights. And the electricity, the battery pack would be dust, right? The electricity would be dust. And what would be the battery pack? That would be your shielded address. So in Midnight, we have, and we have discussed this before, we have two kinds of addresses. We have the unshielded address and the shielded address. Unshielded address, people can see what you have on that address, pretty much as any public blockchain like Cardano. And the shielded address are addresses that nobody can see what you have inside. Only you, with the encryption key, can see your actual belongings, your coins, right? So Nights, it's for the unshielded addresses, and Dust is for a shielded address. So that shielded address behaves as a battery pack. So when you have Nights, you're going to have to say, okay, I want to generate my Dust on this shielded address. So now your shielded address behaves as a battery pack. So Dust are going to be generated depending on how much Night you have. And that battery pack is going to get filled by a certain amount. And that's it. You have a cap. And then you can use it, right? If you don't use any energy or dust, you just have this cap, like your battery, it's full. If you start using it, if you're using electricity, dust, in the same proportion as you're generating that energy, dust, the battery pack is going to be kind of stable, like at 100%, 90%. If you start consuming more dust, meaning doing more transactions within the network, your battery pack, your shielded address with dust, is going to get depleted, right? And eventually, if you want to keep on the game, what you need to do is buy more Nights. So Nights, it's the token that generates dust. It's a really nice mechanism. I'm going to go through the white paper where they explain what these mechanics allows developers to actually do. Okay, so we have night, right, as I was mentioning, and they have these utilities. We have generating dust, a resource to power transactions, promoting network security as block production rewards. So the same thing as in Cardano, right? Block producers, they do the work of creating blocks and they get rewarded by receiving ADA. In this case, block producers receive nights. Enabling decentralized on-chain governance. So in Midnight, we're gonna have governance as well, as in Cardano. And the governance token is gonna be Night. And driving the ecosystem growth initiatives. During the distribution process, some of these coins, Nights, are gonna go through the principal constituents, meaning Midnight Foundation and Midnight TGE for commercial partnerships. And then we have Dust. Dust is the shielded and renewable network resource, whose single function is to allow users to execute transactions at midnight. So it's shielded, it's consumable. Dust is consumed when used, meaning it is destroyed and does not cycle back into circulation. So that's an important topic, and I'm going to explain. So in Cardano, what happens? When you create a transaction, you pay fees in ADA, but that ADA doesn't get destroyed. It actually, that fee goes back to the block producer and to the treasury, right? In the case of Midnight, Dust get destroyed. It doesn't go back to the block producers or to the treasury. So yeah, that's a different mechanism. When you have nights forever, right? When you create transactions, you don't spend your nights. You're just spending the dust that were created based on your nights belongings. So yeah, really, really nice mechanic. I'm still surprised with all this information. And we have renewable. Dust is continually generated by night balances in perpetuity. Decaying, that's what I was mentioning about the kind of the correlating to the battery pack. A dust balance decays when dissociated from the night address that generates it, meaning it cannot act as a store of value. And that's really important because what normally these private blockchains suffer about it's when it comes to regulation, right? When you have tokens that are private, regulation gets scary about, okay, you are transacting with things that we cannot see. So the way Midnight is protecting and being compliant, regulatory compliant, it's by people are not going to be able to transfer dust, and dust itself is not a store of value. If your nights generated some dust and you are not using those dust, that amount of dust is gonna decay over time. So you're gonna lose that energy, that dust. That's why I like to correlate it as a solar power plant. And then non-transferable. That as mentioned, you cannot transfer dust. Once your dust is within a shielded address, it cannot be transferred. And if not used, eventually it's gonna decay to zero. Okay, regarding timelines, the phase 1, it's gonna take place during 60 days. So this is the glacier drop. An evolution of the traditional airdrop formula where tokens are merely dropped into eligible users. The glacier drop includes mechanisms to increase its fairness, integrity, and resistance. One important point that they're mentioning here, it's only people that are holding more than $100 based on their tokens are going to be eligible for claiming, right? Those that, for example, if you in your wallet didn't have $100 in ADA, for example, you're not going to be eligible. And the scavenger mine, they haven't released the details yet regarding how it's going to work regarding the computational power, but since this phase, you have to have tokens more than $100 based on those 8 blockchains. With phase 2, what they want to do is kind of allow other people that didn't hold any of those 8 blockchain tokens to be able to participate as well. So this phase 2 is going to be open for everybody. So they are trying to do something really fair for everybody, because if we think about it regarding computational power, everybody would think, okay, the Bitcoin miners are going to get all the night during this phase because they have a lot of computational power and they can perform all this computation. But they haven't released the details yet, but they have mentioned that they are trying to do a process where people with their own computers are going to be able to create these computational power and calculate those puzzles and be eligible to get some tokens from this phase 2. So that's really nice. Everybody with computers, normal computers, regular computers, laptops are going to be able to participate in this process. So they mentioned something here regarding that. It's somewhere in the white paper they mentioned that, but everybody's going to be able to participate in this phase 2. Then we have this thawing and redemption period. So during the redemption period, Glacier Drop and Scavenger mine claims unlock following a staggered schedule in 4 installments over the course of 360 days, 1 year. So that's where the name of the Glacier Drop comes from. So Glacier Drops comes in the sense that you have tokens that are frozen, and during that time it's gonna thaw. They mention here, right? They thaw. So or unlock. So this is gonna happen during 1 year, and people are gonna be able to claim as time passes. So it's gonna be divided in 4 installments. And the way it's gonna happen is like this. For example, you have claim to get 1,000 nights. So during the redemption period, you're gonna get a random number from 1 to 90. That means during these first 3 months. So you don't know where is gonna be your first installment. Could be on the first day, or it could be on the last day, which is the 90, or it could be 80, 70, 60. Some day between these two dates, right? Dates 1 and 90. And after that, every installment is gonna happen after 3 months. So let's say if you have 3 months, 90 days, right? So let's say you have been chosen to redeem on the day 10. Then your next installment is gonna be on the day 100. And then it's gonna happen after 90 days. So in that way, what they are trying to achieve is that not everybody will receive their tokens right away or try to hold it or dump it. They don't know what the market's going to do. So they want just to kind of even the distribution out during the 1 year. So that's where the Glacier Drop comes from as well. And then the lost and found, it's a phase where they're letting people who didn't know about the Glacier Drop and were eligible to actually be able to get some of those tokens back, right? So they're not going to receive the 100% of the tokens that they were eligible during the phase 1, but they're going to be able to get like 2-3% out of the total allocation they were eligible. So, well, at least they're going to get something, and this is going to last during 4 years. If after those 4 years they don't get those tokens, all the remaining tokens are going to go back to the treasury. And they're going to have this night claim portal sunsetting. So we're going to have this 1 year to claim the tokens. They're going to keep the portal up during another 3 months after that date. And after that, they're going to close the portal. And everybody who still have some tokens to claim and the portal was closed, they're going to have to interact with the smart contracts by themselves. So, yeah. So let's take a look here now at the claims and redemption process. So if you click here, how to get Midnight, the way it's gonna work is like this. The snapshot was already taken. The Midnight team, they inform. I'm gonna share here some information, right? They were mentioning some things about the white paper, but here at the end they mentioned that the snapshot took place on June 11th. So yeah, the snapshot was already taken. And what's gonna happen when the glacier drop starts? You're gonna have this page where you're gonna have to connect your wallet, one of those 8 blockchains that are eligible to get the glacier drop, and based on your allocation of tokens, let's take as ADA as an example, right? So based on your amount of ADA tokens that you have in your wallet, and those 50% of total allocation that's gonna go to the ADA blockchain, here is gonna appear how many nights you are eligible to claim. So then you're gonna have to sign the transaction. You're gonna have to sign a message to confirm that you are the owner of that address. And then you're gonna have to select another address where you want to receive your night tokens. They are recommending to choose an address that hasn't been used before. It's empty, without any transactions at all. So in that way, you're gonna select all your addresses. If you have many addresses, you're gonna have to confirm each one of those addresses. If you only have one address, you just have to confirm that address. And then we have this night distribution step by step. First, you make a claim. The first step to receiving night tokens is to claim an allocation. It's like this phase. Then wait for your allocation to thaw. Claim allocations are initially frozen, locked, and must thaw before they can be redeemed, right? The glacier drop. And then redeem your allocations. You must redeem your thawed allocations to complete the process and receive your tokens. And then you can make a claim. And we have these 3 phases. The glacier drop, that is gonna last 60 days. The scavenger mine, that is gonna last 1 month. They don't say here, but it's gonna last 1 month. And then the lost and found, that is gonna last during 4 years. Then you wait your allocations. Okay, they mentioned here at the end. Scavenger mine, 360 days during the redemption period. And here they gave this example that I was mentioning, right? Let's take an example that you have a random day that you're gonna get your first installment. It could be from 1 to 90. Let's say you get the first day. And then after 90 days, you're gonna get the other installments that you have. So in total, it's gonna be 4 installments. You can redeem in each phase, or you can wait until the end and just claim everything together. It doesn't matter. What you have to be careful is to redeem after that 1 year, and plus 3 months that they're gonna give as a buffer for people to redeem. If you wait way after those 1 year and 90 days, you're gonna have to interact with those smart contracts by yourself. Your tokens are gonna be on the smart contracts, but the page to interact with those smart contracts are not gonna be open anymore. So somebody or yourself gonna have to deal with the interactions with the smart contracts. Okay, so well, that's pretty much the summary of the white papers. There is a lot of mechanics that is gonna take place. One of the really nice mechanics that I love, and I think everybody as developers would love, it's how this task works. And what's gonna allow us to do, it's actually people from other blockchains able to talk or interact with Midnight without even knowing they are interacting with Midnight. How come? Normally, when you interact with a blockchain, you need to have the native token, right? Ada, for example. You need to have Ada and then interact with Ada. The way it's going to happen in Midnight, it's the Dust. You can sponsor it as a developer. So the end user, they didn't even have to possess the Midnight or Dust token to interact with the blockchain, because the dApp developer is sponsoring that transaction. And the cross blockchain communication is going to work with the Midnight bridges. Right now, we're going to have this protocol level based native bridge from Cardano and Midnight. But in the future, there's more blockchains that are going to get into that masterpiece. Okay, perfect. So that regarding the white paper, I recommend you guys go through all these white paper. You can see that it's divided on the Night token, the Dust resource, the cooperative tokenomics, block production and incentives, and the Night token distribution. Really, really nice information. You're gonna love it. Okay, now let's talk about the hackathon. The last hackathon just closed, and on Friday were the presentations. So now on Monday, they opened this new hackathon where the Midnight team just announced on Twitter, our next virtual hack is live. The theme, Mini DApps. Build something small, bold, and brilliant on Midnight Network. So 7,000 in prices. If we take a look at the details, they have realized something nice, right? DApps, since the hackathons, they last just 1 month, and to build an end-to-end DApp, it's really difficult. I mean, people are learning, and so they have decided, okay, we want to extend the time for hacking from 1 month to 2 months. So now each hackathon is going to last 2 months. And regarding the scope of the hackathon, now you are not expected to deliver like a complete end-to-end app. You can focus on some specific feature and master it. So that's what they call the Mini DApps. So let's take a look here. It's like, okay, think about this. A beautiful designed UI showcasing how a CK circuit hides a player's position in a game. So you don't have to implement the whole game. It's just a specific feature of something of a application, and just tailor that specific feature. A confidential job board leveraging private state management. A minimalist voting app using anonymous attestations. So now they're gonna last for 2 months, and what they want is think deeply about their idea, polish a usable, compelling MVP. So they are looking for MVPs, minimum viable product. So they don't have to be a complete application in the sense of adding a lot of features. You can just focus on one feature only and just create an application, an MVP. Engage with others and refine based on feedback. So, as I mentioned, the duration is 2 months, and the kickoff was yesterday. And the prices is first place 4,000, second place 2,000, and third place 1,000. So to connect this hackathon regarding MVP, we just released, and that's where we now enter the technical part of the session. We just released the template, where I put here, our starter template is ready. What we have in this starter template, and it's gonna let people to build dApps really quick and add those features that the Midnight team were mentioning, right? So we want to have a template, and then you just create a contract with a specific feature and start developing on top of it. So this starter template comes into the play in a really nice moment. So what we have in this starter template, we have updated with the latest libraries. We have UI included with hot reloads. Includes the most basic contract, the counter contract. As I mentioned, we are starting first this basic contract, but putting all the instances together so developers can learn how to integrate the instances, the libraries on a really basic contract. And then it's just adding logic into the place, but you already know how to interact with the different instances. It doesn't matter how complex your contract is, all those instances are gonna interact the same. Includes a wallet widget for seamless user interaction. Designed so devs can see how all pieces connect end to end, and built for fast iteration and easy scaling on new contracts or features, as the Midnight team mentioned on the hackathon scope. And we're not just releasing code, we're gonna study that template during these sessions. So those that have going through these sessions from session 1, we've been learning how to interact with the Midnight blockchain, what are the libraries, but at the end, what we are going through is through this template. We're starting at the contract level, CLI level, then we're gonna go through the UI level, test frameworks, and how to interact with React. So let's take a look at the template. I'm gonna open here the my IDE, which is Windsurf. And we have here the Midnight Desert template. We are dividing the template in 3 sections. The contract section, the CLI section, and the UI section. When I mention that it's modular, it's because the UI takes as reference the contract part. Right now we have the counter contract, but we can add other contracts. So we can have files here regarding an X contract, Y contract, C contract, and integrate everything within the UI. And how that is going to be integrated just by using providers and hooks. So let's take a look here. For example, on the app, we can see here that we have the app provider. So this app provider comes from the counter contract. If we have more contracts, the way we integrate it on the UI is just by adding some other providers. This Midnight provider, Midnight Mesh provider, is regarding the wallet widget. So where all this glue, it's been written here in the code. So to be really modular, the way we are doing this is by creating some specific folders that they don't get mixed with other code that you could have on your UI code. So we're creating these modules. And all code related to a contract, it's embedded here in this folder. So it's a kind of a standalone folder. You just can copy and paste it, right? It doesn't depend on other code that it's around. You just have to copy this folder and paste it. One decision we've made, we were thinking of having these folders as a NPM package, but we have decided to include these folders as part of the code. For those that are familiar, for example, with packages on the UI part, we have ShadCN base that uses Tailwind, right? And ShadCN, you can download code and put it on your program and actually have a UI interface kind of right away. But the benefit of ShadCN is that you can actually modify that code. Let's take an example here. I downloaded here just for you to see how this is going to work. The way ShadCN works is, for example, you have this components folder, and when you download a package, actually they download it under this UI folder, and you have your bottom package. So you can see here, the code it's in your main source code. It's not under modules. Normally, when you download using npm as a code, as a module, you get it here on the let me see if here on the node modules, and you have all your packages here. You cannot modify that, right? So the way ShadCN works is you download the code as a code itself within your source code, and you can modify anything you want. So with contracts, we thought the same thing. We can offer the layout of a contract, but maybe a developer wants to modify something on that contract. So if we provide that contract as an NPM package within modules, they're not going to be able to change. Or we might have to do some tricks within the contract itself so we can pass parameters. We prefer just to give the source code itself, and developers can change the code however they want. So for example, in Midnight code, it's going to work like this. So we have the modules and the Midnight folder, and then we have the control UI, and we have the wallet widget. Let's take a look at the wallet widget. If we open the wallet widget, we have context, which is providers, we have hooks, and we have the UI. Everything within a folder. The developer can change everything inside here. And let's take a look at the counter and the counter UI. We have the APIs, how to actually talk with the other folders here. For example, the counter contract. We have context, we have the providers, and we have the hooks. This could be developed by somebody that understands how the contract actually works. But let's say, for example, a Web2 developer, they just would get these folders out of NPM download. And based on these folders, they can just write UI code, Web2 code. So they go here to the app, they download the providers, and then on the code itself, what they're gonna do is, let's go to here to the pages, and let's take a look here at a UI. First, before going through this code, I'm gonna show here how it looks like. And for example, we have here the UI. We have home, we have our wallet, we have the wallet widget, we can disconnect, we can connect, and we can see the belongings of our wallet. And on the counter, we can deploy a new contract, and we can actually call some circuits. So let's say a Web2 developer wants to implement that. They don't know anything about Midnight Compact, contracts, anything. They just want to have some providers, some hooks, and do the contract logic that developer mentioned about it. We have a contract to actually increment a counter value. So what they're going to do is just, they go to the code, and they're going to install the providers here, as I mentioned. Yes, two providers, wallet widget, and the counter contract. And on the actual code, what's going to happen? They're just going to call hooks, and they have all the integration on hooks. They don't need to know anything about the contract itself. It's just hooks. And for example, here in home, we're calling this use wallet, and we get all these values, and they just integrate on the UI. So yeah, really nice thing about flexibility and modularity. And we want to create these kind of different phases of developers, those ones that would be interested on creating this counter contract and counter CLI, those interested on creating the glue, these modules, creating the glue from those contracts to a React application, and then Web2 developers that actually want to use these providers and those hooks to actually implement a application logic that they want for a specific use case. So this is now live. It's on the GitHub repo, and the way to install it is like this. You have to download this Git repo, and then you have to build it. I'm going to include the documentation, but here it's Caleb. He was asking me how to actually run this. I'm going to explain this really quick, Caleb, and then I'm going to open mics for everybody to ask questions, and then we can discuss any topics at all. So the way to build this, it's you have first to build your contract. And here in package.json, you have this compact. You have to do npm run compact. In that way, you're going to build this contract here. For the CLI, you don't have even to worry about. The way we are dividing this is you have your contract, and then you can implement the CLI part and the UA part, right? So for the UI part, you just go under this Vite React folder, and on package.json, you just do the npm. Sorry, where is that? npm run dev. That's it, and you can run it. So the other thing, Caleb, that you were mentioning, it's we are doing this in a standalone mode. Why? Because I want developers to actually play with it. If I deploy this on testnet, developers would have to use my contract. I want developers to create their own contract. So in the CLI part, under test, I have created this script, which is prepare standalone. What this script does, it's spin up those instances necessary to have a Midnight deploy network, and I'm sending tokens to this specific address. So what you have to do here is go to your Lace wallet. Here in Midnight, you have your Lace wallet, and you have to change here in settings, Midnight network, and you have to choose and deploy network. And then on receive, you copy your address, and that address, it's what you have to paste in here. So this code, it's actually saying, okay, send to this address a specific amount of tokens, which is 100. Yeah? So, and then you're gonna see on your night some tokens, like 10,000. And then you can just play with the UI. You can increment, you can deploy contracts. Well, perfect. I'm gonna open the mics. Actually, we're doing this with the hands, right? If anybody wants to join the stage and talk, we have James here from Edda Labs, and Damio, huge figure in the Cardano ecosystem. James, if you want to jump in, you're welcome. And just raise hands, and I'm gonna answer some questions as well. Let's see. We saw some nice. Okay, James. Ooh. Hey, James.
Hey, Eric. Wait, I'm still just seeing your big screen share here, and I can't. How do I get rid of this? There we go. Hey, man. Hey, to everybody, and Jingles is here too. Congrats on the starter pack. That's amazing to look at this repo. And
Thank you, James.
Got it up and running. Really cool. Yeah, and I'm sorry to miss the hackathon on Friday. Did any good ideas come out of this community?
James, I mean, actually, this hackathon was really nice. The last hackathon, it was 11 projects. You know, as a context, during the previous 2 hackathons, I mean, there were not that much submissions, right? So in this last hackathon, the topic was regarding tooling, and there were 11 submissions, 11 projects that qualified to present, and the projects were really nice. I mean, the tooling part, it was just not that developing. There were people talking about MCP, AI integration, cloud developing, infrastructure. There were people actually talking about. I always forget that word in English. It's James, I forgot. You know the what we do in Agda with Haskell, formal verification. There were people actually,
cool.
there were people implementing formal verification. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of projects. People from Midnight itself, they were really happy on those projects, and yeah, I mean, from now on, I think this hackathon level submission of projects is just gonna increase, and the level is just gonna go up and up and up.
Brilliant. Yeah, and we were talking with Jingles just when we met in person. Just, you know, you put a little bit of funding out there, and you can just attract all of this energy to get these ideas into action. So it's good that that's catching on for Midnight. Very cool.
I know, yeah, James, for sure. And we have a member here that is really passionate. It's John Santi. He's over there. I mean, he presented a project as well, and yeah, and as you mentioned, James, right? There is giving these tutorials and people to collaborate. I mean, actually inspire people to keep on building, and from those first points, I mean, people can grow really fast if they are passionate and they can start building. And the project that John presented with what was the name, John, of your partner? It was Norman. And that's something, James, that I really love, right? I mean, hackathons, everybody says, okay, you have to start your project, and the idea is for other people to actually join and they start collaborating together. But in practice, you don't see that happening that much, right? People normally, they start their own, and collaboration, it's kind of tricky. And because of hackathon doesn't correlate to, it doesn't, like, since everybody wants to win the hackathon, collaboration and helping other developers out from other projects doesn't happen because they don't have incentive to do that, right? So, well, now with these sessions and collaboration and how the ecosystem start building up, I've seen people getting together and actually building projects, and that was really amazing to see. And the level of the projects just demonstrated that. So, yeah, and
That's great.
And well, James, I mean, and what we want to do is here is something like what you guys have been building in Edda Labs and Damio, which is, it's nice. And actually, James, maybe John wants to join the stage because his project, James, was actually inspired based on what you're building on Andamio. So I'm gonna
excellent. And I know that I owe John a message on Twitter. I've been there's been a bunch of travel and this and that. So John, I know that we have to catch up about this stuff.
There you go, John.
Hello, James.
Hey, it's good to meet you. Or we've talked years ago, haven't we?
Yes, we've talked a little bit over the years. We've got Midnight. We've always been very excited about it. Absolutely love Andiamo, and it was definitely the inspiration for most of the structure of our project. We want to integrate education, collaboration, and connection, and compensation through GitHub via bots. And we would love for Andiamo would be like just the absolute perfect fit for educational stuff for Midnight through Mesh.js and our project. If we could get something like that off the ground.
I think that's a great idea. And sorry, guys, I'm really struggling with Discord today, how this works. I would love to hear more about what you've built, and just in general to kind of paint the picture of where we're going, right? With Andamio, we have a valid set of tools that serve use cases that go way beyond the Cardano ecosystem around academic credentialing, around treasury management, and particularly what resonates with people we've been talking to is connecting contributors with projects, right? So a few of our team were at a conference last week in Berlin where we had a chance to talk to, people who either work at small UNDP agencies or who are working more in the education and professional sector. And they were able to describe what we've already built here as something they envisioned coming into this world. So right here inside of the Cardano ecosystem, we've been even more up close with these ideas about building capacity, giving people a chance to contribute. But here's where it gets so fun, right? The solution we've already built is limited in a few ways. It's kind of expensive to run it on layer 1. right? And that's why it's so exciting, the work that the Mesh team and others are doing around Hydra. We're going to make things less expensive, right? But it's also not private enough for every use case. And voila, now we get to practice using Midnight for what it's for, plugging it in at any point in an application where there's not enough privacy for some enterprise solution, right? So it's very interesting to us to look at these integrations. But more importantly, if we do break through, if we're right about this hypothesis that these solutions are going to matter outside of the Cardano ecosystem, well, shoot, we're going to need more devs, right? And so there's this fast pace that's just a few months out, I believe, for all of us, right? Right now, we're kind of getting ready for the adoption wave that tools like Midnight and Andamio are going to provide. And so if we can start building now the network of solution providers, I think that's a really exciting opportunity. So whatever we can do to start that follow-up work, and I'd love to help you see how Andamio integrates and start building towards this.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Perfect, James. Thank you very much, James. And yeah, the main idea of these sessions, it's actually that. I mean, it's we want to use different technologies to actually create applications, right? The goal is end-to-end applications. Web2 developers actually offering solutions to businesses, and we're gonna use the best tools we have out there, right? Midnight, Cardano, how to integrate those, and we're gonna go through the sessions. Actually, that we are right now learning how to deploy Midnight applications, but then how do we integrate that with Cardano? We're going to have native bridges. So how to integrate that, and how do we make users to actually not know anything about the blockchain itself? They just want to operate on something, and developers can actually pay the transactions. Jingles just show these Web2 wallets that you don't have to actually know that you're creating a wallet with a seed phrase. You just log in with any social media you own, like any Web2 applications. So imagine applications that people create wallets without knowing they are holding Web3 wallets, and they think it's just Web2, and they don't need to pay for transactions. So and having privacy, stuff like that, and having low transaction fees with Hydra. So that's kind of what we want to do here. And James, thank you very much for your presence. And I'm sure that we're gonna do really nice things in the future. And people here in the channel are really passionate. And I'm just gonna answer one question here from Caleb. He participated on the hackathon as well. He's working on these templates. He did a really nice job, and he was asking me here regarding how can we migrate from network and deploy to testnet. So Caleb, the way it works here, it's like this. On the front end, here in the app, you're gonna have to select the network ID. So in this case, you're selecting undeployed. If you raise here, you can see here that you have different networks. You can choose DevNet, Mainnet, Testnet, and deploy. In this case, we're using undeployed. This is for the UI part. And for the creation of the instances, since we are creating those based from this control CLI folder, in this prepare standalone, we are getting this class from the config folder. So if you go to config here, you can see here that we are using for the standalone mode, the undeployed network. If you want to run your instances in some other network, you would have to point these configs to whatever network that you want to run, and that network should be the same as the one in the UI here. So in that way, you can choose whatever network you want. So in this case, we're using undeployed because of what I mentioned, right? I want you guys to actually play with the contracts and deploy your own contracts and have the funds to do that, right? If you start playing with testnet, you can actually do that as well, but you're gonna have to depend on the faucet and transactions is gonna take more time, right? So and deploy, it's much easier to work with. I recommend every developer that starts integrating in Midnight and testing using the undeployed network. Life is gonna be much easier. And then at the end, when you just want for others to actually play with your own contract, okay, you can deploy on testnet and just provide the APIs to interact with your specific contract. Not sure, Caleb, if you have any question. It was clear. If you want to jump in the stage, just raise your hand and I can invite you. Yeah, I think it was clear. Okay, everybody. So, well, that's pretty much this for this session. Sorry for the inconvenience of Discord. As James mentioned, Discord sometimes plays funny with us. But I'm happy that we managed to make this work out. For next session, we are gonna continue what we were doing on the last session, right? Today we bypassed this process because there were really nice topics regarding the template and the white paper. But on the next session, we're gonna continue on this counter CLI that we are studying the different functions to interact with different instances. And we're gonna talk about these waiting functions: wait for sync progress, and wait for funds. So see you next session, and see you all. Bye bye.
Thanks, y'all.